Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I'm really excited about the launch of my new Easy Wonder die number 3 and its add-on die set. These are exclusively available and sold at the Not Too Shabby shop. I do have a separate launch video where I talk about how what all these dies will cut out for you and how to use the pieces together. So if you'd like to check that out, I'm going to link to it in the upper right hand corner. But in this video, what I want to do is share with you my latest easy postage printable. So what is new with this release of the Easy Wonder die number 3 is I have started to design some digital PDF files that you can download from my website, print out at home, and then craft with and share your makes with me. So I'm really excited. This collection is my newest one. I created it for my very dear friend Meg, who is a big fan of dragons. So in this collection, as with all my easy postage printable collections, what you'll find is one version, one PDF file, which is sized so that you can print it onto a US letter sheet of paper. It includes what I'm calling the Easy Guide. So this has been designed very specifically to work with Easy Wonder die number 3. And it's very, very specific because the reason why it looks so strange with all of these dragons right in the center of what it looks like would be a very beautiful background. And I've done it that way so that these images will line up perfectly with these areas here. And these areas are meant to be postage stamp designs that then you can layer right back into the postage grid that the die also cuts out for you. So when you line this up, and I've given a white reference line, so that white border actually shows you pretty much what the edge of a 6x6 sheet of paper would be like. So if this were a normal 6x6 sheet of paper that you would get from Not Too Shabby, you can expect to see about that much extra paper all the way around the die. So the die has been sized so that it can pass through a 6-inch opening die cutting machine. And I've left that white line as a reference so that it's easy for you to line this up and position this so that these images will fall in the exact right location for you. And of course, I've made the background just a little bit larger to accommodate being able to show you that nice bright white line. Then, because I know that if you're going to print this out onto US letter size paper, I want to be able to give you the most I can by way of additional images that you can use. So what I've done is included 10 additional postage stamp designs that are actually sized and scaled so that you can use your add-on dies to cut those out. Because the add-on dies are individual dies, you can place them over each of these designs and cut out just the design that you want. The other thing that is really nice about being able to give you these additional images is that you can actually, if you wanted to, even though this was sized for the largest size stamp in the grid, you could use a smaller die, say the square die here, and use that to cut this out if you prefer. So this gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility so that you can choose which designs you cut with which dies. And so you've got 10 images, and when you look at your postage grid, there's actually 5 locations. We have a large rectangle, a square, a medium rectangle, and 2 small rectangles that are the same size. So what I've given you is with the additional designs here, you have 2 full sets. So you can see there's 2 large rectangles, 2 squares, 2 medium rectangles, and 4 small rectangles. So lots and lots of images to play with. Now, if you don't have the Easy Wonder die number 3 add-on, you can always trim these out with a trimmer or a pair of scissors and use them that way if you prefer. But what if you don't have the Easy Wonder die at all? Well, I've also released, along with the Easy Guide version, 2 additional versions. So whether or not you have the Easy Wonder die, you can craft with these. And these are different, and notably so, if just to look at them, it's very different from the Easy Guide version. So what you'll find is at the top, there's a full, it's more than half a page, because this actually is larger than 6 inches tall, which accommodates very easily with room to spare. It accommodates still being able to use your Easy Wonder die number 3 to cut it out, but really you could use any of the Easy Wonder dies because it will fit all the same. And this gives you even more flexibility, because if you did want to use your Easy Wonder die number 3, now you can choose which orientation you prefer, because this postage grid might be a focal area for you. You might prefer to have it maybe over this area, or maybe if you thought that was too busy, maybe you would want to instead put it over this area. So you've got a lot of freedom and flexibility, and plus what you can do is some of the papers are non-directional, like this one. Some of them have a direction to them, and so by not including the Easy Guide in these background prints, you can actually choose whether you prefer to use this postage grid in the landscape, or if you prefer to use the postage grid in a portrait orientation. So it gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility to craft with, and the backgrounds are different to the one that is included in the Easy Guide version. So even if you get the Easy Guide version, you might still like to craft with these. Now, the other big difference, and it's a subtle one, but I think it's a big difference, is that if you look at these images, what you'll find is they are the exact same size and scale. But the difference is that on the version that is not specifically designed for the Easy Wonder die, you get the full image. It's not clipped at all, which includes a postage frame border. So that means that if you don't have, and even if you do have the Easy Wonder die, you might actually prefer to craft with the full image of the postage stamp design. And so you can see here, look at these 2 dragons. So you can see I've had to clip off quite a bit at the bottom, a little bit off to the side, in order to fit as many images as possible in this version. And plus, because this has been designed very specifically to be cut by the largest rectangle die in the add-on die set, really that's all the area that I need for this image. So rather than include the full image and take up space, I've actually just clipped it down so that it just shows only what is needed and what would be visible if you were to use the die to cut it out. However, I wanted to build in some different variations so that for all of you out there who do not have the Easy Wonder die yet, and you're still on the fence about it, but you love these designs, I've made these so that you can craft with them. So what you'll find is there's 2 PDFs. You can buy them both or buy them individually. And what you'll find is each has a different background, and each has a different set of 5 postage stamp designs. These are the same collectively, they are the exact same 10 images here. So the only difference is that what I did was I took these 10 images, and instead of clipping them, I left them in full. And then I split them up across these two PDFs so that I could give you a really cool background to craft with and some focal images to craft with. And that way you can, if you want, just buy one of these and you're going to have everything that you need to craft with. A beautiful pattern, a beautiful background, and then a focal image or two. So that was the thought process behind designing these. And I want to be upfront that I am not an artist. I'm not an illustrator, so I did not create these backgrounds. And in fact, these are a combination of images that I've sourced from Creative Fabrica. I do have a commercial license to reformat and produce these for sale. And as well, I've been dabbling with AI generated images, and what I'm really excited for is that these are actually the first set of AI generated images, and I'm really happy how they turned out. So really, really cool to be able to use technology in this way. And I was able to, just with, a couple of iterations and with some tweaks, I was able to generate some really fun dragons and complete with the Postage theme and everything. So I'm really thrilled by that, and I think I'm going to be doing more and more AI generated images and possibly combining them with things that I find on Creative Fabrica as well. So that is a look at my latest Easy Postage printable collection. If you're interested in this, I'll leave links to it in the description box below. But I also want to show that there is a sentiment sheet that can go with this collection, or you can get it standalone because these are generally good encouragement sentiments. You can use them any time of year, but some of them I did design myself. Some of them, again, are from Creative Fabrica. And what I've done is, for the ones that I've designed myself, a lot of them are the dragon-specific ones. So I've got Be the Dragon of Your Own Story. Dragons are awesome. I am awesome. I must be a dragon. Keep Calm and Dragon On. This one was suggested to me by Meg. If you can be anything, be a dragon. So I added some very dragon specific sentiments to this, but most of them are just very general encouragement sentiments. So this PDF is available as well. So what I want to do in this video, though, is actually give you a little bit more of an in-depth look at how to craft with these printables, and specifically, I should say, how to craft with the Easy Guide version. So, as I mentioned, it is designed so that you can use your Easy Wonder die and the add-on die set to cut out these images. Now, when you are positioning your Easy Wonder die, and actually let me first do this. Let me first just trim this down so that we can just be looking at this portion here. And if you have a 6-inch die cutting machine, this will be your first step as well. So if your machine can only fit a 6-inch wide opening, you can actually trim this down pretty close to that white line. Just don't trim inside the white line, because the white line is essentially a 6x6. So we'll start there. I actually have a large platform machine, so this is gonna go through my machine pretty easily. But what you'll want to do is, if you look at this, these dragon images are meant to land in these spots here. So the postage grid is meant to land here. The easiest way to identify how to line this up is look for this. So this is the end of my fishtail banner. So all you need to do is look for that little triangular notch that's always going to be in the upper right corner. So the triangular notch here goes in the upper right corner. And when you go to line this up, just like you would line this up on a 6x6 pattern paper, what you're looking to do is create an even border within the white line, not the very edge of where you see color, but the white line. I extended the pattern beyond 6 inches so that I could give you that very clear line, and that way it should help you line this up so that where those postage stamp images are, you'll be able to make sure that it gets cut in the right spot. So the next thing you'll want to do is just tape this down. If your die cutting machine is like mine, you're going to want to tape it in multiple locations. And then you can run that through and die cut that. So the next thing, I'll set that aside and I'll show you what you can do with these. So these are the extra 10 images that are available on that same Easy Guide sheet. So that's all one printable. We're going to die cut one section of it with our main Easy Wonder die. And then from the add-on die set, you want to pull out all of the rectangles. There should be 4 of them. So pull out all of those. And you're going to have to run these through a few times in order to get everything cut out. But I want to show you a couple things. So the way this was designed is that each of the dies will line up to cut out a very specific design that falls into one of those 5 postage grid locations. And the way that you would line this up is what you want to do is, I'll just zoom in a little here. So what you want to do is position your die so that you can't see any of the image anymore. So when your die completely covers everything, like none of the image is visible around it, then you're good to go. So each of these has been clipped and scaled down so that you can still see a good portion of the image, but it's clipped so that when you position your die, nothing of the image should be visible. And that's going to be true of all of those. So those are the first 3. And then your smallest die, this set of 4, is the set that is designed for use on that die, for that die. So that's how you would position these. Now, one of the things that I want to share though is that if you're looking at the larger image, you can always choose, if you prefer, to cut it with a smaller die. So there's nothing to say that even though I've designed these 2 images to be cut by this die, the largest rectangle die, but let's say I want to actually use this with the square die, and I kind of want to frame it a little something like that. You could totally do that. Maybe you want to use your smallest die and use it on this dragon instead. Totally your choice. So because these don't have any guide or anything around them, you can always use a smaller die to cut an image that is larger. Now, of course, these 4 you can't really use anything other than the smallest die because a larger die is going to cut into something else, and then it's also going to result in a weird image. But you could still be creative. Maybe that could be a different design that you're going for, and you can always sort of reframe these however you'd like. So maybe you prefer to cut this image out a little bit wonky like that. That's totally up to you. I think, you can also choose to do this die as a landscape, maybe turn this and make this portrait. So many different options. Once you have the dies, you can cut them however you'd like. Plus, they're just images, so you don't even need to use the dies. If you prefer to just trim them out, then you can. The nice thing about using the dies, though, is that they do have that really lovely stitch border detailing. So when you use the dies to cut them out, then you're going to get that extra little detail with your die cuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut all of this out, and then I'll come back and show you what all you get. Okay, so I finished all the die cutting, and look at all of the pieces that you get. So from one printable page, you're going to be able to cut out your main Easy Wonder die number 3, which gives you these pieces here. If you were to use 6x6 pattern paper, you would get the exact same pieces. And you can see how you've got your postage grid here that has 5 grid locations for postage stamp designs. And this does have some lovely stitch border detailing as well. And now what I'll show is how these images have been designed so that they can actually layer right into those locations. When it comes to these 2 spots here, you actually have 3 different little designs that you can inlay there, and the rest you just have the one option that fits perfectly in that location. And what I've done is when I designed these, I actually made it so that it's a little bit friendly for when you go to cut it out. This way, if you don't have everything perfectly centered, it won't be the end of the world. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to bring this up and I'll show you this. So when I designed these, you can kind of see on this individual stamp, see how the border, it's a little bit fuzzy? Well, that border, all of these little stamp designs have that little bit of a fuzzy border, and it's really sometimes you can see it's pink, sometimes you can see it's purple. It really depends on the pattern paper and what's behind it. And the reason why I designed it that way, so that it's got that very soft border, is because if you're going to do exactly as what I've done here, where I've put those designs right back onto the same pattern paper, it really creates a little bit of a softer edge around those images, and it still fits in really nicely with the background because it was originally part of that same design, background design. So if you position your die and you're a little bit off, then there's still going to be a little bit of a border. It might not be the most even border. You can kind of see on this stamp here, I think the bottom border might be like a smidge thicker than the top, so I probably didn't line it up perfectly, but it's totally okay. Here you can see this isn't lined up super perfect. There's a little bit more of a border there than there is on this side, but that's okay. It looks fine because everything's kind of got that soft border around it. So that's why I've designed it that way, so that it can be a little bit more flexible and a little bit easier if you're not really precise with lining up your Easy Wonder die. So that's one option for how to craft with these images. And that all came from the Easy Wonder die, the main one. Now, what about all of these images? Well, these images were on the same Postage printable, and they were all cut with the add-on die set, which has been designed so that you can actually also inlay them back in to your Postage grid. Now you get a little bit of a different look when you use the add-on die. So I'll show you. These two stamps, they're actually the same dragons, the same image, but you can see that I've scaled it so that when it's being cut with the Easy Wonder die, it fits so that you can see, more of the dragon. But when it's being cut with the coordinating add-on die set, I've scaled the image so that it's larger. And you basically can see about the same amount of the design. And let me bring this up close. This is probably a really good example to show you the difference. So when you're using the die or the little design that comes with the Easy Wonder die, then you actually see that stitch border detailing of the Postage grid. It's actually designed to fit inside that stitch border detailing. And then that way you actually see more of this lovely background. Now, when you use, I'll take that middle one away for now. When you use the add-on die set though, because the add-on die set has its own stitch border detailing, it actually will cover up the stitching that's part of the Postage grid. And it just leaves you with that very nice Postage border all the way around. So it gives you two different looks. So you can decide, do you want more of the background showing, or do you prefer where you don't have quite as much of that background showing? And one of the things that you can do is you can also snip your Postage grid apart. So then let me show you this. This is the exact same location as that. And there's side by side how these would look a little bit different depending on which version you want it to craft with. The Postage stamp design that was cut by the main Easy Wonder die, or the one that's cut with the add-on die set. So you can kind of nudge this to make it more evenly centered, a little something like that. So I think both look really nice. It just depends on how much of that border you'd like to see and what look you're going for. And that's why I've designed these dies to work this way, so that you have a lot of freedom and flexibility to craft the way that you like and to create the look that's most pleasing to your eyes. Not to mention the fact that the other reason why I've actually designed it this way is so that if you really like having lots of mats and layers, what you can do for yet another look is you can use, this is that location down there. So you can actually take one of the Postages areas from your grid, die cut using your add-on die a matte layer to go behind. And then if you want, you can take one of the original little stamp images that was cut from the main die, and you can layer that right back on top. So now what you see is the main Easy Wonder die cuts out the Postage grid, and this smaller version of the stamp design, the add-on die set, gives you this matte layer in between. So let me bring that up so that you can see the three different looks that you can get. So we've got just the components from the main Easy Wonder die. You can center that better. Then we have the postage frame from the main Easy Wonder die and the image that's cut using the add-on die set. Or you have this version where I've taken the postage frame from the main die. I've used the add-on die to cut a frame, a second frame. So now this is double framed, 2 mats behind our little stamp design here, which came from the original Easy Wonder die. So 3 different looks, and let's see if I can get them all in a row here so that you can look at them. So that's what I mean by, making this so that you kind of have as many options as you want with how to use the different dyes and how to mix and match to create different looks. And I've created the printables so that you have all of those options as well, whether you want to use the smaller little postage stamp designs or you want to use the larger one. Now, this set just happens to have some duplicates, but not all of them do. So I can show you. Those are the same dragon, but it's not. But you can see how much larger that one is and how much more you see of the dragon. This one is also duplicated. In the landscape orientation, I could get its full wingspan, but in the portrait orientation, this dragon's actually holding that gem. So some of these, as I mentioned, they are duplicated, where some have been cut using the main Easy Wonder die and some are the additional from the printable. And because I am able to kind of crop them a little bit differently, you're going to see different looks, different parts of the same scene. So that is a little detailed look at how to work with the Easy Postage printable and the various different combinations that you can create with it and some different ideas. So definitely, with the postage grid, definitely snip into it so that you can have these really nice individual postage frames, and then you could layer anything you want on top of this. And whether it's things from my printable, other pattern papers, ephemera, etc., sky's the limit, because this is really just a basic set of shapes that you can craft with. And that's kind of my idea behind all of my Easy Wonder dies. It's really just some basic shapes that you can craft with, and that way you have a die set that just continues to be relevant and usable, because it's just going to offer you a lot of craftability and a lot of options for how you want to use it. The printables I've designed, especially the Easy Guide version, to be very specific so that it is really easy for you to get all of the components that you need to craft with to create a card or 2 or 3, because you have so many dragon images in this case that you can craft with. Now I want to give you a look at the sentiment set that you can get, and this is also something that has been designed so that it can be cut with the add-on die sets. So let me show you. I don't have any that have already been cut out, so I'll go ahead and just cut one so that you can see. But here we have the full sheet. And again, I'm going to pull out each of the 4 rectangles from the add-on set. Now, my thinking behind how I designed this was so that I did border everything with a black border. And that is because if you wanted to, what you could do is you could just use a paper trimmer, scissors, a little guillotine, and you can cut exactly on the line, just outside the line, and you can use it that way. You don't necessarily have to have the Easy Wonder Die number 3 add-on to work with these sentiments. They're just rectangles of various sizes, and the various sizes have been determined so that you can use the add-on dies if you do have them. And so I just want to show you how you are meant to line them up. And it's basically the exact same as what I shared about how to line up these. You want to position these dies so that you can't see the border line. And when you might be covering some of the sentiment, don't worry. It's going to be okay. So there are sizes and shapes to match exactly the 4 different sizes and shapes that come in the add-on die set. So that gives you a way to cut these out and still also have that really great stitch border detailing. And so what you want to do is, as I mentioned, just line these up so that you don't see that black line anywhere. And if it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and cut out a couple, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I've gone ahead and cut out several of the sentiments, and as you can see, when you cut it out, you don't have that black border all the way around anymore. And because we use the add-on die set, these are sized so that you can use them in your postage grid. So for example, you can use this one technically was designed for this if you want a nice close border all the way around. But this actually, which is this location here, you can see it's that exact location there, this will actually work with the smallest as well. And it's the same proportions to give you a really nice border all the way around. But if you want to, this piece here actually does double duty. You can use the piece that's designed to go with it, or you can use the smaller rectangle. It would be the smallest rectangle, and you would have sort of that double stitch border detailing because you have the stitching of the postage stamp still visible, and you get some stitching that the add-on die set gives you. So so this specific stamp here you can use for the add-on die that was designed to go with it, or the small one as well, and get 2 different looks out of that. But what I wanted to show you was that after you die cut, this is what's left over. So you can see that there's a little bit of wiggle room there. If you're not perfect, like I wasn't perfect here, you can see that I got pretty close to the black line here. Left to right, I think I did a decently good job. But you can see that there's wiggle room, so don't stress if you can't get it perfect. You just need for the die to basically cover up those black lines as best you can, and it's gonna turn out great. I've built it so that there's a little bit of wiggle room there. As long as you can't see the black line when you're die cutting, then you are good to go. And similarly with these, as long as you don't see the image when you cover it with your die, then you're good to go. And I didn't save any of those pieces, but if I had saved them, you would have seen, for example, this one, there would have been a little bit of the image still all the way around. And that's because, actually, let me just show you this. When you look at the die, if you look at the die, the cut line is actually inside the edge on both sides. So you can see why if you just make sure that the edge of the die covers up the design, because the actual cut line is inside of that by about 1/16 of an inch or so, it's gonna give you that, that's what gives you the wiggle room, is that extra little space there at the edge. So that is how I designed it so that the images hopefully don't create a lot of frustration to die cut, because you don't have to be spot on perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. I'm going to make some cards, and then I'm going to come back and show you some inspiration. I'm going to try to use as much of this as possible and make as many cards as I can. So I'll be right back, and I'll show you some finished cards. Okay, so I've made some cards and I'm going to show them all to you. I want to let you know though, I did cut this one twice because when I was recording earlier, I just for filming purposes, I had to cut 2 of them. And so I'm working with 2 sets of this portion here. And I think 1 full set of the extra dragons. So this is my first card. I would maybe consider this the most straightforward way to use the Easy Wonder die number 3. I did actually remember that I've got this, I think it's like an opal watercolor. And so when you splatter it onto black, it looks one way, and you splatter it onto white, it looks another way. But this is one of those ones where it looks like it's just white, but then you splatter it onto black and you get different colors. So I've got a blue in there, a pink. There's a purple in there too, but I don't think the purple reads very well. But I forgot I had that, and this was a fun opportunity to pull it out and do some splattering. So what did I do? I used the Easy Wonder die number 3, and I die cut it technically twice out of this, and then 1 more time out of some ombre glitter cardstock. And that's what I mean when I say, the way I like to use really just all of my Easy Wonder dies is I like to die cut it out of multiple different papers, whether it's like multiple different pattern papers or multiple different, solid color cardstock, mix and match of solid color cardstock, specialty paper, pattern paper, etc. And then that way you can kind of swap and mix and match and create some different looks and ultimately more cards at the end of the day. And so I, from the grid, I used, or from the glitter ombre, I used the grid, and then I took these and used them on top here so that we have some good contrast. And this one, I took the actual grid, and instead of using it landscape, I turned it to use it portrait. This idea I stole from Meg. I saw that she used the cancellation, the postage cancellation die, and she cut it out of one of the images, and so I thought that was such a cool idea. I stole it from her, and then I just backed it with, I just took a regular circle die out of my stash, and I cut some silver mirror cards so that there's the mirror of that silver coming through where the stars and the circles are. And some more iridescent mirror card there. I did save all of those little stars that drop out and sprinkled them throughout the card. So those are the little stars that came out of the postage cancellation, but then I added some confetti stars as well. So that's my second card. This is just a different fun way to collage things up. So I cut just from scraps. So this is another thing that I really like to do. I took my Easy Wonder die and I just grabbed some scraps that I thought would be like good, purples, pinks, blues that match this pattern here. And whatever the scraps I was able to find that were a good color, they're small. It wasn't enough to cut like the full 6x6 of the, or nearly 6x6 of the Easy Wonder die. But what I did was I just wanted some of these like postage stamps with the border and everything. So in this grid portion here, what I did was I just overlaid my scrap to cover as much of this area as possible. So for example, like, here's a bit of scrap, and all I did was I just tried to position this to see, okay, how many full sets of, these little postage, individual postage designs, little stamps, can I get from this little bit of scrap? Or if there was like a particular one that I wanted in a particular color. So I would just put this over, die cut it, and then snip, trim around the edges to get individual stamps. So it's a good way to get, just what you need if you don't want to die cut the entire Easy Wonder die every single time. But I find it a nice way to scrap bust as well, so that you just have these little pieces ready to go. And then I collaged up the actual like dragon design postage stamps over top. And then the next one is, I think I have, yeah, there's two that are kind of similar. Okay, so here's what I did. I did do, let's see, sort of a, I guess you could say it's sort of like a female versus a male version of two very similar cards. So with the glitter ombre paper, I did die cut the entire Easy Wonder die out of that glitter ombre. And so all of these here, those little squares and rectangles, those are back here in the background. I did snip some of them and then, you know, kind of move them around a little, hang them off the edge, etc. And the idea is to just create like a little geometric background to play with. And I did pretty much the same thing here as well. So I just took these pieces and then created a little bit of an interesting background, and then collaged up my postage stamps right on top. So all of these little elements are just fun ways to, you know, create your own background, lay a little bit of a foundation to build your design up. And so those are two very similar cards, but kind of one leaning a little bit towards the pinks and the other leaning towards the blues and greens. Then my last two cards actually feature, I did snip into this one because there's so many dragons. Once you cut up like all 10 of these extra dragons, you're gonna find that you're gonna be able to make a lot of cards. And so I saved some of the dragons that are like more warm tones for use with this particular print here. And I was actually able to make 2 cards from that background print. And so these are A2, so and I think they're cut to like 4 inches each. So this one, I didn't even use the Easy Wonder dies. Oh wait, actually I take that back. I used the banner here. That's from the add-on to Easy Wonder die number 2 actually. But I didn't use Easy 3 at all on this card. And that's what I mean. Like that's the reason why I wanted to create those additional options, so that I just think the designs are really beautiful and can be fun to craft with. And I don't want to limit it to just people who have the Easy Wonder dies, because I know not everybody's going to want them, and that's totally fine. If you don't want them, that's fine. But if you want to craft, if you like these printables and you want to craft with the printables, I want to give you, you know, a couple options where you can do that if you want. And then, you know, if you want to use it with your Easy dies, then they're built for that as well. So you can kind of see, you know, these are the same 2 images, but this one has the full postage stamp design that you can use. I actually fussy cut that out, friends. I did. And then this is one where I've used the version that is clipped already, so that it can be die cut with the Easy Wonder die number 3 add-on. So just another couple of different ways to use the printables, and some really fun postage themed cards. So if you have questions about anything, if you have suggestions for different themes that you might like to see as an easy postage printable in the future, please let me know. If you're liking the sentiments as well, let me know if you've got some suggestions or requests for different sentiment sets, and I would love your feedback. I can't guarantee at what pace I will release these. Certainly if they're doing well, if they're selling well, if they're popular, I will be able to put a little bit more time into creating these. I was very excited about this particular set because I actually used AI to generate these the dragon stamp images. So I'm really excited. I'm trying to get better at you know, writing AI prompts so that I can bring some fun ideas that that I just quite frankly don't have artistic skills to create, and would never be able to create at a volume like this. So I am loving AI for this reason so far. All right, friends. Thanks so much. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.